Mesachta Shavous, Daf Chav Zayin Amud Aleph. We're starting from Chav Vav Amud Beis. 5 lines in the bottom, starting from the words Meisvei. We left off over there. So we were talking about Vadim Shabalev. If you can make a shvur just with the words in your heart, what you thought you made up in your heart to swear, is not going to be considered as a shvur. So Shmuel said not. Meisvei. So the Gemara is now going to ask on Shmuel from the following brayse. It says in the Torah, they gave a neder that you have to bring a carbon if you are even on that neder. It says Moitzes Vasacha. The words that come off out of your lips, Tishmer, you should obey, but he said you should do. I only know that if he doesn't obey the words that he said with his lips, that he's going to be over a carbon. If he was over, he's going to be chayv a carbon. God believe him in ayat. How do we know that if he made up in his heart to make a neder and he was over on that he's also chayv? So from this, Nadiv Leiv that says the heart is mashman on the double, even if it was in the heart. If somebody makes a neder, if he knows, he goes to the Rav. You have something on your nose. Says the Gemara, shiny hasam. You bring me a right from there. This neder is a neder of hegdish that the women and men and women should bring whatever the heart willingly wants to bring. So they brought nose rings, earrings, all kinds of bracelets, everything. Says the Gemara, if you had in your mind, be careful. Then you got to keep to it. And neder shall hegdish. So let's see what it be the cup and be over. Okay, receive like it says in the pasuk, kol nadiv leiv. So it's exedus hakosed by nidei kodesh. It says nadiv leiv. So v'nigma mina. So let's learn out from there, from neder lemigdash. Just like over there, a neder in the heart is good enough, is considered as a neder, and if you're able, you have to bring a carbon. Let us learn out for shvur too. Says Imanu, no. Nishum dehava truma b'kadoshim shneksum abayim keachad. We find side by truma, trumas meaning truma melach samishkan that they took off and gave for the mishkan, and you find also by kachim and nidei kodesh. It's also when somebody makes a neder to give something to hekdesh. It also says the lashon b'chol nediv lev. That's what it says in Divrei Hayom. So you have two places. You have by Mishkan, same teaching twice. The one you have by Tumas Malchus HaMishkan, and one you have by Nidei Hekdesh LeMizbeach. So since you have the same limit in two places, so we have a cloud. If it would only said one place, that a neder in the heart is good enough. So you say, this is a big enough all over, that if you make a neder in your heart, it's considered as a neder. But but once it's written a second time, it's to tell you, Eimah London. It's only for those two places.
Which places?
For somebody who makes a neder for Hegdesh L'Mizbeach, and for the Trumas Melach HaMishkan. So if you want to Hadnich L'Mandi Eimah London, that's only according to the one that holds up the cloud. That if you have it written twice the same limud, you cannot learn out all over. But according to those Tanoi who do say that we learn out, so what are we going to be able to answer from them? And they want very simple. Halvu chulim v'kadoshim. The psukim are written by kachim, and Shvuz bitu is by chulin. The chulim v'kachim like Gamrino. That's a known cloud. You don't learn out from kachim. We're going to start the Mishnah now.
So if I make a shvur that I'm going to give you $100,
in your heart, give it a davar. You have to give it.
No, only the
Unless I'm talking about if you give it to Hegdesh. But Rabbi Reuben said a good thing. He says if a guy gave too much in his heart, he had in mind to give $1 million. Best over zaynaf and neder and bring a carbon. That's cheaper. Okay, so the Mishnah. Nishba levatel sabitza. Somebody made a shvur. This is the Mishnah. We're starting the Mishnah on the top of Chav Zayin Amud Aleph. Nishba levatel sabitza. Somebody made a shvur to be mevatel mitzvah. L'mashal, he says, I'm not putting on tefillin today. Or I'm not putting on tefillin. Or he says the first night of Pesach, I'm not eating the matzah the first night of Pesach. That's the shvur he made. V'loi bitul. And he didn't listen to his shvur. He put on tefillin. He ate the matzah. He's potter from a carbon shvur. How about fakir? No. L'kayim, we'll soon see why. L'kayim, what's if he made a shvur? I'm going to eat matzah on Pesach. The loikim, and he didn't eat the matzah on the first night of Pesach. Potter, he's potter.
Because he's chayiv on the other Veda that he did.
He's not chayiv either way. Either shvua, he's not chayiv. Shohayu badin
He
sheyeh.
didn't eat matzah and when he was supposed to, so he's like he didn't obey it.
He went against the shvua. Either way, he went.
You say the shvua.
We're talking about a shvua. He's going to be potter either way. If he was over the shvua, if he was mitzat shvua, what?
We don't know why.
No, we don't know why. Okay, yet. So he says, even though Shohayu badin sheyeh chayiv, even though.
But this happened the night before Pesach. So during the year, he said.
No, he's talking about Pesach mitzvahs.
Before Pesach.
Yeah, on the first night of Pesach, he said, "I'm not going to eat," and he ate. Or he said, "I'm going to eat," and he didn't eat. He's not going to be chayiv mitzad shvua. That's separate. Yeah. Shohayu badin sheyeh chayiv. Even though you should learn a kavachema when he makes a shvua that he's going to lamashal. He's going to fulfill the mitzvah, and he didn't fulfill. So lechay should be chayiv. Kedim Rabbi Yehuda ben Meseira. Rabbi Yehuda ben Meseira learns from a kavachema. Here, I'm Rabbi Yehuda ben Meseira. My imar reshus madach in the case where he swears for something that the Torah doesn't say you chayiv, and he says he's going to do something nice, right? She'eina mushba alav mehar Sinai, on something that he's not sworn from Har Sinai to do. Arei chayiv alav, he's going to be chayiv for being over on a shvua. Mitzvah she'mushba alav mehar Sinai. A mitzvah but says noch, he's already sworn from Har Sinai that he has to fulfill it, and then he noch made a shvua. Eina din she'ei chayiv alav, shouldn't he be chayiv for shvua is beaten for being over on the shvua? Aminu loy, so the Chacham said back to Rabbi Yehuda ben Meseira, loy, no, you can't learn out from this kavachema. Why? Because in Amar to be shvus to the shvus, shekin asba lav behei lav kehei. When it comes to shvus to shvus, you could do it works. You could do the lav and the hey, the lahara lahei. How you're going to swear that you're going to eat, or you're going to swear you're not going to eat. You swear you're going to do something nice, so you're not going to do you're not going to do it. So you have the lav lahei. Talking about shvus mitch lo yasba lav kehei. There you're not going to have lav kain. You could only go the direction of what the Torah says. You could swear that I'm going to eat matzah. That way it works. But to swear, if in lav, I'm not going to eat matzah, that's going against the Torah. So since you can't do the lav, and you need to have the lav and the haim, if he's made a shvut to be matzah, and he wasn't a matzah, potter is potter. Because it doesn't work with love. He's going against what he's being nishmul levatas hamitzvah. Tanu rabbanim rabbanim you learn. Yochel nishmul levatas hamitzvah lo yivit yehi chayiv. I would have thought to say that if he swore to be mevatel the mitzvah and he wasn't mevatel the mitzvah, that he should be chayiv hakam shvua, and explain lahara lahetiv that lahara means that he intended. What does it mean? Ra. The ra that he was going to do is going to be mevatel the mitzvah. That's what it means in the Torah, maybe. But that it's to do bad.
But that's what the pasuk means.
Maybe lahara laheta means to go against the Torah. Lahara is going against the Torah. Damalei comes the pasuk and says, "Oidavski sishava lahara lahetiv," and we compare ma hatava, just like hatava, the shvur when it's for the good, it's rishus. We're not talking about being over on the isa or going against being mevatel mitzvah. Afara, so too, when you're talking about the bad, the shus has to be something that's not isa or something that's going being mevatel mitzvah. No, the shus means that he has a choice, yes or no. Here, there's no choice. We cannot talk about a mitzvah or isa where there's no choice. To exclude nishma levatel mitzvah, that's not a reshus. You don't have a reshus to be mevatel. That's not something that you have a choice. Okay. I would have thought, okay, the other reverse. I would have thought he's being making a shur to fulfill a mitzvah. He's not going against the Torah, but like him, and he wasn't mekayim. Shehi chayiv. I would have thought he should be chayiv a kav mishvur. The only type of shvur is beaten that's chal, and if you're going to be a kav that he has to have the choice both ways. Because this is not a hatavish shus. It's not because you're choosing for the good, because the Torah tells you have to do so. It's not your choice. Sagt die Yibara Yachal Nish Malahara Atzmai. I would have thought, okay, if he makes a shvur to hurt himself, Veloy Heira, and he didn't hurt himself, Yachli Potter, I would have thought he should be Potter from a Kavan Shvur. Tamalay Lahara Lahitze. Comes the Pascal Lahara Lahitze, Ma Hatavrishus, Avhararishus, Avi. It includes what's a case of a choice, Nish Malahara Atzmai. He swears to hurt himself, and that's not a Isser. He brings down to hurt him, even though it's a machloikis. He swears he's going to hurt himself.
He has no right to hurt himself.
So he brings down this. It's a machloikis. Even though it's a machloikis, we're following the Tanoim was halten that a person could be chayvel himself.
Because the body is not his.
You're right, but it means up to a certain point. So he says, Avi, he includes if he swore to hurt himself, and he didn't do it. He's chayv hakam just because he's allowed to hurt himself. Like we're going like those tanaim. So it is.
He realized that he made a mistake. He must have hurt himself.
The sheigig is a chayv hachatas. Yeah, maybe that's why he brings a chatas. Okay, Zak Mother Yachal. I would have thought Nishma Lahad Lachidim. I would have thought, okay, if you know, Mazak Tefyanim stuff is Kemen Schmeisen. So he's a good Tefyanim's cheshbon. You know, I'm going to give the other guy a beating. I'll make a shvur. I'll beat the other guy up. Yachal Nishma Lahad Lachidim. I would have thought that if he swears to hurt somebody else, and he didn't hurt him. That he should be chayiv for such a shvur for being over. Taman leima lahara ilahetiv. It says lahara ilahetiv. Mahatavar ishus havarar ishus oitzi nishma lahara lachirim lahera sheheina ishus biyodei. He doesn't have a choice to beat up somebody else. Oh, now I'm in the mood of beating him up. I'm allowed to beat him up. It doesn't work that way. He doesn't have a choice to be chayvel somebody else.
I want to calm down my anger,
So beat yourself up. Don't use somebody else as your punching bag. Yeah. How do we know to include that if he does something good for somebody else? He says, sure, I'm going to give that guy a matana. I like him, he's a great guy. We learn now from the yitur of oi that if that's extra word. That if he does that, he says, I'm going to do something good for my friend, I'll give him a matana. Then, and he doesn't give him, then he's kai for sure. What does it mean that he's going to do bad for somebody else? He says, "Akas ploini, I'm going to hit that person." But eftzes meiche, and so spalten sein meiche, I'll split his skull.
It doesn't mean literally.
That's what it means. Yes, it does.
Split his head.
Yeah, I'll split his head, I'll split his skull.
I'll give him a headache.
I'll give him a headache by breaking his head. He just doesn't want. He should feel the headache. Chosh b'rei shay.
Then he said,
Yes, but it says, but. It says, but eftzes moiche. It means he literally translates it. That he's going to split his head. Okay. Thank you, Mother. From where do we know the Kroy b'dvar harishus chassidei? You came up with a whole theory. Machtav rishus, hafaror rishus has to be a choice. Where do you see that lahar lahitim in the Torah has to mean something that's rishus? Nothing else. Maybe it's referring lahara for that he's going to go again and not do a mitzvah. Meaning he's going to be he's nish b'levatal sa mitzvah. Maybe that's what lahara means. It says lois hakavayla. You cannot think that way, because the beina the hatova dumia the hara dumia the hatova. The hatova has to be the same case of Rav, and the hara has to be the same case as hatova. L'mashal.
By mitzvah, you can't say.
The akish hara letova ma hatova ein bebitul mitzvah afara ein bebitul mitzvah. L'mashal. Hatova, right? What could good mean? So if he swears that he's going to eat chametz, it's a good zach for the good. But it's not good that the end result for the neshama is a gefela chazak. You're eating chametz on Pesach. Or he says, I'm going to eat on Yom Kippur. Eat is a good zach, it makes you healthy. But Yom Kippur, the neshama is not good. So you can't be mevatel a mitzvah. So what are you talking about, Hatava? He swears, I'm going to eat matzah, right? I'm going to eat matzah on the first night of Pesach. So what's the hara? The hara has to be also something that he's not being a mevatel mitzvah. Just like in the Torah, you're saying something that's not being mevatel mitzvah. So what would be a similar case on Pesach? That you're not being mevatel mitzvah and you're saying something negative. He says, I'm not going to eat chametz on Pesach. So is he being mevatel the mitzvah? No, but he's not eating. It's not good for the goof. But he says, the Peil Mamish, hara gufa hatavi. The Peil Mamish, there's a part of it that's hatava for the neshama. Because you're not eating chametz on Pesach. So it's, you don't, if the hara and the tava has to match exactly that it's not being mevatel mitzvah, you never find that it should be lahara oy lahetif. And if you take the reverse, the akish hatav lahara, he says, and you have to be makish the hatav to the ra. Mahara ain't mekim mitzvah. Afata hatav ain't mekim mitzvah. If you can explain the ra is that he says that he's not going to eat chametz the Pesach. He's saying it has to be, he can't be mevatel mitzvah. He's not eating. It's a shlach l'sach. But Peil Mamish, he's not. It's good for the soul. And what's the teva? That he's going to eat matzah Pesach. Again, it's always going to come out.
Two different things though. One is chametz, one is.
Doesn't matter. It means in Pesach, but not being mevatel the mitzvah. He's saying.
It doesn't have to be for the neshama.
So,
Right?
huh? For the neshama is something that's good.
It doesn't have to be for the
Soul
neshama.
food,
Side
soul
this,
food.
side this, side this.
Right.
Not saying, I'm sorry.
Uh,
It is, I'm kidding, but they say so.
What kind of matzah? There's a what do you put? What's the matzah you put with eggs? It's called what?
Matzah brine.
Matzah brine is good for the soul, right?
Egg matzah.
So-
Matzah shira.
So the hatava gufa is the hara. He says here this hatava of not eating chametz, or you take the hara that of not eating chametz is batzma hatava eichat. So it's not going to work out. In fact, if you have to have the same case exactly, even when it talks about the choicest things, you cannot have the hara and the hatava work out, because what is going to swear? Hatava has to be that it's good for the goof. So let's say he swears he's going to eat. What is he going to eat? Something that's not harmful to the goof. He's going to eat something that's healthy for the goof. So what's the opposite? That I'm not going to eat something that's mazik the goof. Right?
So what is it?
So if he's not going to eat something that's mazik the goof, it's eichet hatava. So you're not. It's so the. It doesn't work out. If the hara and the tava has to be exactly, it's not going to work out. Says the Gemara.
He said, "I'm not going to eat."
I'm not going to. The teva is I'm going to eat something that's healthy for the good. That's not harmful for the good.
And lahara is it?
Lahara, I'm not going to eat something that's harmful to the good. It has to be similar to the same case. So I'm not going to eat. We say all the details. So I'm not going to eat something that's harmful to the good. So it comes out it's anyway teva. The ra is teva. So what are we gaining? So if you want to Allah only with the itza, what are we going to learn out? That it's a rishus, that these rishus bitui is only with the gate to rishus, not with the gate to bar mitzvah. It says with the itzich oi. You remember we mentioned that oi tells us la tavas la chayim. The word oi is extra. What is the oi coming to tell us? Lahara oi laheitif, it says, right? Oi lerabes hatavas la chayim. That if he does, he gives a matana to others. That if he's over, he made a sure he's going to give him a matana, and he doesn't give him, then he's over, and if he doesn't give, and he has to bring a cotton over unit. What?
What would be lahara? Jesus.
No, we're only talking about October. Oi. We remember we said the oi is even though it doesn't work the other way. The oi was a yitzur. Atavas lachedim is going to work. So
What if he makes a sure? I'm not going to give him the.
if for bad, I'm going to break his head. So we said that's not.
No.
That's leisur.
No, he swears that he's gonna give, and it doesn't give, right? So we lached.
So the Gemara is going to talk about
What
that
about
later.
this?
That's good. We're going to talk about it right now.
What are you gonna talk about? Go on.
You'll see what I mean. Okay, right now we're talking about Hatavas La'achedim. Where do we learn it out from the extra word oy? So Shmami no betvar harashus ksivei. It has to be talking about only by something that he has a choice. That if he wants or if he doesn't want. If you're going to say that doing a favor for another is talking about a mitzvah that Lamashal is giving tzedakah to ani. Hashta raz hachedem isabi. Madach when he's doing something bad to yeah, Lamashal if he says that he's going to break that guy's head, right?
Split his head.
He'll split his head. Isabi, you're going to include it. You're including now. You're saying it's not going dafka on rishus. It's going even on isurim or even on things that you're being mevatel. What the Torah says. So if the pasuk is referring to even to something that the Torah, that the shvur that's being mevatel, what the Torah says, like the mashal beating up somebody else, the Torah says you're not allowed, and you're saying that, and if he made a shvur that he's going to do it and he doesn't do it, you're saying he's chayv a carbon. Of course, when he's doing something good, when he promised to give him atana, he doesn't fulfill it. For sure, he's going to be chayiv. So, what do I need Oy to tell us that? If the pashtup shot in the pasuk is talking about lahara main an kagen amitzah, mevatel zayin amitzah, mevatel zayin isur. So, madach lahara, he makes a shvur to do something bad, and he doesn't do it. And l'chayr is following the Torah by not doing it. It's chayiv akamayel v'yeret. He didn't fulfill his shmur. So how much shmur so when it's l'teva? So that's what you're saying. So 1 minute. So is a raya from this that we needed oy to include hatovas la'cheirim is obviously because he's telling us for dvar shus that it can only be for that. You're only going to be chayv akamayel v'yeret for adavar shus. And adavar shus means something that you have a choice. But so it only works lahatov. That was the chiddush. Here, hatovs lachedim only works lahatavs lachedim. When he's doing a favor for another, he has a choice to do a favor or not. The bad doesn't work. To beat up, to do something bad, to beat up doesn't work. So it doesn't work the other way. Kumt oy to be marba. Now it makes sense that even though it works one way, hatovs lachedim, he makes a sure to do hatovs lachedim. And he's still and he doesn't listen. He's going to be chayv hakam v'yedid, even though it doesn't work the other way. He says, this oy, we need it for something else. We need it to be mechalik, meaning, because it says in the pasuk, laharu lahetiv. I would have thought that he's not going to be chayv only when he makes a shvua, which is both laharu and lahetiv. And if he's missing that one of the components of laharu lahetiv, it's not a shvua, it's bitter. I'm going to beat you up and then I'll give you a glat after. It says the Gemara, for the Gemara, to be mechalik, I don't need a pasuk. Because he says, when it says lahara ulaheitiv, even if it wouldn't have said the oi, I wouldn't have said it means both. The vav ulaheitiv is already mechalik. It says, this is only according to Rabbi Yonason, who says that the vav in itself would have been mechalik. So the vav would have been mechalik. That's why I need the oy, the extra. The oy is being maba la'tavs and it's only l'dvar rishus. And then once it's la'tavs ha'chedim, it has to be talking about rishus. But Rabbi Yeshia says no. He argues. He says the word oy is kidei l'chalik, and the vav I wouldn't have been mechalik. So oy I need it, and it's not to teach us la'tavs ha'chedim. What are you going to say then? So, and the Gemara the Tanya, we learned in Abraisa, it says,
how do you know Lachedim is also...
How do you know L'dvar HaRishus already? Since Oy is not being used L'atavs Lachedim, you said Oy, the extra word tells you L'atavs Lachedim. Then you ask the question, L'atavs Lachedim, what do I need it for?
He doesn't hold that. If he doesn't use the Oy for that...
So how do we know the whole drasha to bring us the L'dvar HaRishus? L'atavs Lachedim, and then the Etzem Zach, once he says L'atavs Lachedim, to teach us L'atavs Lachedim, you have to say, if it's teaching us L'atavs Lachedim, it must be that the pasuk is only talking about Rishus. But according to Rabbi Yeshia, the Oy is not coming for that.
Why do you have to say it's talking about Rishus if it's L'atavs Lachedim?
Because if it's talking about Bar Mitzvah, I don't need L'atavs Lachedim. I can learn Madach when he's beating up somebody else. He makes a shur to beat up somebody else, and he doesn't beat him. He's over on the shur, even though it's going against the Torah by beating him up. So you say he's over on the shur. How much more so? L'atavos lachedim is not being over when he makes a promise to give somebody, and he doesn't give. He's not being over something against the Torah. For sure, It should be a carbon, a shvua, a carbon. Anyway, so the Gemara, I'm going to prove to you for Rabbi Yisha that where does he know that the oy has to go on Hatav Slachim? Where do we see that? The Tanya, because Rabbi Yisha will agree. It says ish asher yikalas av vesimai mois yumas. Only ella kilel ella aviv v'imai. Only if he cursed his father and mother. Aviv v'layim imu layaviv b'nayin. What's if he only cursed one of them, the father, not the mother not the father? Talmud Leimer comes the pasuk.
It says what above you though.
Says the Gemara, it doesn't. No, he learns it out. The Tanakama, he says because it says aviv v'imai kilel. At the end of the pasuk, it says kilel by the mother. At the beginning of the pasuk, it says ish isha sheyikalel es aviv. There's kilel by the father, and then on the end of the pasuk it says aviv v'imai kilel, and the kilel next to the mother. So aviv kilel v'imai to teach us that if he cursed the father alone and he cursed the mother or the mother alone, he's going to be chayiv divin Rabbi Yosha. Those are the words of Rabbi Yosha. So you see Rabbi Yosha, 1 second. So what do you see from Rabbi Yosha? That if not for the word kilel, right? And it would have only said as aviv es imai, even though there's above there, I would have said it means only till both. The only reason why I'm separating them, each one individually, if he curses his chayiv, because it says the word kila by the aviv and says the word kila next to the imai.
Same thing here. I would say oy is also to be mechalik.
So I don't need oy. I need oy to be mechalik by us. Sure, because over there, the only reason why we were mechalik because of another word, kila is written next to imai, and kila is written next to aviv. Rabbi Yonason says mashma shneim ke'echad, or mashma kolach b'fnei atzmai. He says es aviv es imai can mean both together, and it can mean each one individually. And you're going to be chayiv even on each one individually. He says that when it says es aviv es imai, it means even separate. But the only time when it means that it has to mean together, only if it would bring in the word Yachtov. Where do we see the word Yachtov? It says Loi Sachreish B'Shoy V'Chamer Yachtov. If it wouldn't say Yachtov, and it would say Loi Sachreish B'Shoy V'Chamer, I would say you're not allowed to be Cheresh with Hashoy, you're not allowed to be Cheresh with Chamer individually. The only thing that tells us it has to be
How can you
Shoy.
say something? You can't be out.
That's what I would have said.
What are you going to use? A cow?
A mantle, you can do tools. Okay. Anyway, so the vav is with the vav would not be mechaba both of them together. The only reason why the only reason why Shei v'Chamer is together because it says the word Yachtov, but by ish aviv, I'm sorry. What's ish asher yikalas aviv ves imay, right? Mois yumas, and then it says aviv v'imay kilo dama. He says even though it says es aviv es imay, it says above, it means individually. Unless it would have said yachtov, then it would mean only both together. So here you have a raya according to Rabbi Yosha that that's only according to Rabbi Yonason. Rabbi Yosha says, no, if not for Kilel, I needed the extra word, by the mother it should say Kilel in order to tell you that the chayiv for cursing individually, the mother separately or the father separately. But if not for the word Kilel, even though there's a vav, I would say it means together. So that's why I need oil lechalik. By us, by shvua. Even though there's a vav by shvua, lahara ulahativ, I say it has to be a oy to be mechalik. So how does it, as according to Rabbi Yosha, how does he know Atav Slachayim? So if you want to appeal to Tema Rabbi Yosha, you can learn that the oy is not miyuteres. And still the Mishnah is talking about, the pasuk is talking about divrei reshus and not mitzvah. How? He holds like Rabbi Akiva that we learn ribui umiyut l'mashov nefesh kisishav as a ribui lahara lahetiv as a miyut lechel asher yavata as a baita ribui. So we said when you have a ribui miyut ribui, it includes everything.
Also.
So it includes everything. And my Dvar Mitzvah. If you're going to say Lahara Lahativ, right? This pasuk is talking about only Dvar Hadashus, then I'm coming to exclude the most far-fetched thing, a mitzvah, the bar mitzvah. That if he makes a shua on to be mavatla mitzvah, to be makayim mitzvah, that's excluded. Aliyah to be bar mitzvah. If you say the Lahara Lahativ is referring to a mitzvah, my come mayit. Then we have nothing to be mayit. We have to be mayit something that's far fetched, but there's nothing to be mayit. You have nothing. So it has to be that the pasuk, when it says Lahara Lahativ, it was only talking about the Shus, and when the miyut that we had, the one exclusion that we had was something a shur that he made to be mevatel mitzvah or to be mekayim mitzvah either way.
If I go to klal practical, then I
No, that's different.
then I would have
Yeah, that we spoke about before. You know, Rabbanon, Shabbat Kamel Rabbi Yehuda ben Seder says the Gemara Rabbanon answered the Chachamim answered to Rabbi Yehuda ben Seder very well. Rabbi Yehuda ben Seder made a kal v'cheina that if he made a shvur l'kayim es mitzvah, let's say to eat a matzah on the first night of Pesach, and he didn't, so Rabbi Akiva says he's going to be over. So the Chachamim said, so why did the Chachamim say he's not going to be over on the shvur? Why is he not going to be over on the shvur? I know he's going to be over what the Torah says. He has to eat matzah. Why is he not going to be over the shvur? Because by mitzvah, by shvur has to work la v'hein. And how here you cannot use it but la v'hein. You can't say, I'm not going to eat matzah, I'm making a shvur in the lav. I'm not going to eat matzah on the first night of Pesach. That's what the Abban answer Rabbi Yehuda ben Seder. So what is he going to answer? Rabbi Yehuda ben Seder, Amalach, Rabbi Yehuda ben Seder will answer you, Ota atav sachirim, lav af hagav de leise b'chlal hados sachirim, v'Rabbi Rachmana, look by atav sachirim. If he made a shvur that he's going to give a matana to another person, and he doesn't give, we said he's over on the shvur. Hagam, it doesn't work in the negative. He says in the bad, I'm going to supplant the cup for my friend, and over there we say, no, that doesn't work. He can't, that shvur is not chal. And we say, but Latava works, so you see it goes halfway. So say by a mitzvah, it should work. If it's not going against the mitzvah, the shvur should help.
But that we learned that from the history of the word, no?
From Oye, yeah, but not according to Rabbi Yosha. Okay, says the Yemana Hachanami B'Kiyum Mitzvah Af Hagav the Leisa B'Bitl Mitzvah Rabbi Achmana. He says by Kiyum Mitzvah, even though it's not by B'Bitl Mitzvah Rabbi Achmana. So that's what he's saying. We should say the same thing. If B'Kiyum Mitzvah, we're going to say the shvur should be chal, and by being Mavatla Mitzvah won't be chal. Just like by Tovas Lachedim, we say it's chal, but not by Haras Lachedim. In fact, the Mother Rabbanon, he answered good. So Rabbi Yehuda L'chein answered good. He says, no, he didn't. Hasam, he said below Yativ. You can find below Yativ like you said originally. How could you find in the negative? He says, I'm going to give a matana. He swears he's going to give a matana to his friend. And he didn't give his over. You can find in the opposite. He says, I'm the fetish not giving this guy matana. It works in the opposite. So that's not. So since it doesn't have to be breaking his head.
How does that work?
What
I'm
do
not
you
going to give you a matana. I swear I'm not going to give you a matana. What's
Well,
it?
why have to swear for?
Huh?
Why
What does
have
it
to
mean?
swear?
I'm not going to give you a matana.
I'm not going to give him matana. You
I
didn't.
swear.
Well, why have to swear? I can say just like this, I'm not giving him
He says.
I don't want to look at your face. That's a shul.
No, but here it says. Right? So he doesn't want to have, even though the guy is deserving a matana, right? He says, I'm not giving it to him. I asked him a shaila, right? I asked him a shaila, and he answered me something,
I swear,
or
I'm
he
not gonna
gave
lend
me
you
something,
money.
or he gave
I'm
me
not
something.
gonna
He
lend you
did something.
$100. The guy
He
needs
did
$100.
something very nice for me. He did a shidduch for me. I said, I'm not giving you a matana, regardless.
He deserves the money.
So that's it. Finished. He could. But when it comes to mitzvah, you can't say, I'm making sure I'm not going to fulfill the mitzvah. I'm not going to eat matzah with Pesach. That's impossible. But by Atavas Lachedim, you can find a negative which is not going against the Torah.
And you consider that as a legitimate shvua?
Yeah. Sagt die Gemara Shvuah.
I swear I'm not going to lend you $100. I know you need $100, and I swear I'm not going to
lend you. Yeah.
And I do give you.
And you do get.
Then become a nice guy.
Yeah, like you know this guy, you tell him, I'm not giving you a dime, get out of here. And then later you go out and you give him $10. Look, Zak the Yimara, Zak the Mishnah, Shvua Shalei Echel
But he didn't
Kikazua.
swear. He didn't swear.
He didn't swear, no. Shvua Shalei Echel Kikazua.
Maybe I did it in the heart. You flew behind.
Okay. Zak the Mishnah, Shvua Shalei Echel Kikazua. He makes sure he's not going to eat this loaf of bread. Shvua Shalei Echlena. And Shvua Shalei Echlena means I'm not going to... Shalei Echel Kikazua means... When he says oichel, it means a kazais of this kikar. Shua shalei echenu means the whole bread. Shua shalei echenu, and then he says the third time I shua. B'achol, and then he ate in chayv alachas. He's only going to be chayv for one. Sagt die Mishnah weiter, zu hi shua is bit shayam als doine makos. This is what we explained in the previous Mishnah. That this is the shvuas bitui. That one who does the amazing is chayv malkis. But if he does it, the shegeg is going to be a chayv kamayit. Als doina is makis, but by this is only by kamal v'yedid. Usually, to be chayv carbon, you have to be the mezid chayv kares. But then you bring a chatas. Here, the mezid is makis, but nevertheless, there's a carbon. The carbon v'yedid b'shegeg. Shvu shav, like you remember, he says on this wooden pillar, he says it's gold, or he says this man is a woman. So the Shvu shav chayv mal's deina makis. The mezid is chayv malkis because it says leisis Hashem Hashem elkav hashav. Lasher you go said potter, but if he does a bit shegeg, he's not going to be chayv kamayil v'yedid when it comes to a shvu shav. It's not a shvu shaket. Yeah. In fact, the Yemada. Why did you said 3 shvuos? Why did you change it for shvu shaloi oichel and then you said shvu shaloi echlana?
Because they both mean the same?
No, they don't. Shvu shaloi oichel means a kazai. Shaloi echlana means the whole. No, why do you change it? What's the difference? The whole loaf. The whole loaf. He's saying either the whole loaf or just a kazai. How come Ashmalon? Time and the Amash oichel. The whole reason why this second shvu is not chal because he said shaloi oichel. V'had the Amash shaloi echlana. The loy b'chayv alachada. He's only going to be chayv one. Aval Amash shaloi echlana. But if he said he's not going to eat the whole kick of a had Amash shaloi oichel, the chayv tat he's going to be chayv too. Kiderava, like Rava said, Amarava shvu shaloi oichel kikazu. He says shvu I'm not going to eat this kikar. Kivan shachli mena kizayis chayv. Oichel is just a kizayis. He says I'm not going to eat. I'm not going to eat. When he says I'm not going to eat, he doesn't say it. I'm not going to eat is the minimum of achila, which is a kizayis. And then he says, I'm not going to eat it, meaning this whole loaf. So he's not going to be chayv till he eats the whole thing.
Isn't that how we learn pshat? Oh, that's what he
That's the
typed it.
pshat. I typed it already.
Oh.
So he says, so now he says, so that's when, okay, in order to understand. So therefore, if he says first, shloyach lena, right? And I'm not going to eat the whole loaf, and then he minimized it to a kizayis. So then he's chayiv. He's chayiv for 2 because he made one was than the whole loaf, and then he made even on a kizayis. So the minute he reached the kizayis, it was already kizayis, and he finishes the loaf. He's open the whole thing.
But he said on the loaf.
But if he said that's on the loaf first. But if he says I'm not going to even eat a kizayis. So the Echlana is not chal because it's already on the kazayis from before. Okay, why do he make these extra shvuos? Why do you have to talk about a third shvu? It's not chal. This is what he's come to teach us. Chiyuv the leikah shvuika. The chiyuv, there's no chiyuv. You're not going to be over for the second and third shvu. But the shvu is still there. The mashkach is if there's going to be, if you're going to find place where it should be chal, chayla, it'll be chal. Where are you going to see that? Marshal, where? The Kedarabba, Damarabba, Sheim Nishal al Harishayna. Let's see, he went to Chacham and says, remove my first shvur that I made. Also, Leishni Tachta. So the second shvur kicks in. Because he only removed the first shvur. He had 3 shvurs. If he removes the second one, the third one kicks in. Says you want to let Messiah later. Let's bring a raya to the words of Rabbah from our following brayso. Misha another state nazira. Somebody who said Hareni knows it twice. He said twice. Umana Rishayna. He counted the. Somebody says Hareni knows it's automatically 30 days. If he says it twice, then it's 60 days. So Manash Rishon, he counted 30 days. Vehiv Shalah Kabin, and the Nazir did like he did Nazir. When he finished the 30 days, he brought the Kabin Nazir, and that's Megalei Chav Yigot. And he shaved off his head. Then, right after, he went to the Chacham, he says, remove the first Nazirus that I had. So the whole first Nazirus is gone. Also, the second Nazirus took the place of the first one. And it's as if the second one was Chal, the 30 days, he doesn't have to do it again. So how could you compare the two? Hasam by Nazirus Miya Isa. The second Nazirus was there. The second Hareni Nazir was there. It said if there wouldn't have been the Shelas Chacham, he would have had to count 30 days and then another 30 days. So now that he was marshal on one, so the second one kicks in. Here, he made a shvua, right? Then he made another shvua. The shvua ain't shvua halal. There was no room for the second shvua. Here, by the Nazirus, there was still both Nazirus were taking place. But when he was marshal on the first Nazirus, the second Nazirus came in its place. But by two shvuas, there was never room for the second shvua. So you can't compare the two. We'll stop over here.